I guess an Emendum kind of video on this nihilism stuff again. I know it's just such a waste of time, but I guess there are these idiots in the world. They even do post comments on here. Some idiot posted a comment. Yeah, this is the snow. We missed the huge blizzard, so we only had snow, so smiley face. Anyway, so yes, we avoided the storm of the century somehow. But anyway, thankfully, I'm really grateful. Yeah, I didn't need this storm of the century. So anyway, before I go out and do the drudgery of shoveling and crap, Holiday made a video. I've watched 6 minutes of part 1, and you know, there's absolutely no grounds for a conversation, so I'm not going to bother watching the rest, because there's already so many non-common understandings of just basic facts of reality that there's just no point in having a conversation with people where you can't even agree that air is breathable or something. There's no premises for a conversation. So, and he calls it, Emendum is embarrassing. Yeah, well, whatever. I think you're an idiot, plainly, an insanely stupid person. I mean, insanely stupid. So, yes, you're too stupid to be embarrassed. So, what good would it do? What good would it be to point it out to you that you're embarrassing yourself? Because no, you're really not. You're so stupid that retarded is retarded. Life is a box of retards. You know exactly what you're going to get. Retarded. All right. So anyways, so the only thing that was valuable is from, like, if you're going to watch any of it, 5 minutes to 6 minutes, he basically says everything you need to hear, which is completely misunderstands any kind of conceptual vocabulary. But anyway, before that, he does this typical griping about how I play videos. So I won't play his videos. I can take notes and I can paraphrase. So fuck you then. I don't mind. I don't even want to watch your videos, frankly. So, philosophy videos. I stopped watching Piro's political videos, and so I'll just stop watching your philosophy videos. Because who cares? You're too stupid. Alright, he keeps talking about some question that needs to be considered. And, you can never find this question. All we're trying to do is dissect reality. And it's part of a process of evolution, as I pointed out. Having a brain is a process of evolution. So you can call it deterministic. Yes, it was inevitable that humans would exist. It's inevitable that we'd have this brain and all that kind of crap. It was just the cause and effect universe creating. And this is what it created this time, in this place. And that's it. And, yes, we're just machines. But the point is that the machine does evolve. Now, the physical evolution thing is over. We're not designing human beings to be physically bigger-brained or doing any of that kind of crap, so there's no breeding program to physically augment us. We're just mutterizing into a type, standard model. And but there's lots of intellectual evolution going on in the sense that our knowledge base grows. Knowledge grows. Facts grow. And I would argue that we're on the cusp of a big change in how people perceive physics, because no more woo, no more Heisenberg, and no more probability nonsense and all that kind of crap. It's just a mechanical universe doing a mechanical thing. But what we're going to learn in this process, too, what I've already learned, which I think I learned when I was rather young, to tell you the truth, because I don't think it's very hard to figure out, is that intelligence is different in different people, and it changes you. Knowledge changes you. You hear something and you say, wow, that's interesting, and I think I'll keep that. Do unto others as you'd have others do unto you, some kind of golden rule thing. Powerful words, intrinsically logical, and not only thought-provoking, but action-making, in the sense that they give you pause. When you're considering an action, you think those things, and you say, well, would I want me to be treated like that? No, I wouldn't. And so you change your behavior. Your behavior is changed by the progressive acquisition of influential pieces of sentence-tree. So clearly I pointed out in this video how showing a Rube Goldberg machine doesn't show the progression of knowledge. It certainly doesn't show the evolution that got us to the capacity to do knowledge. It doesn't show the creation of the calculator, and it doesn't show the programming that makes the calculator calculate, and it doesn't show how that programming gets better and better as time passes, in the sense it becomes more and more knowledgeable. It can be. Obviously on planet Earth, idiocracy is in place. The idiots are breeding, and breeding idiots. And so yes, there's a lot of idiots on Earth. A lot of people who are stupid, uninformed, ill-informed, uneducated, haven't done much thinking about their life, just been living their life. Truth. They're just trolly pieces of, way exaggerated perceptions of their own competence and capacities. Put up nothing, talk shit, and dumbasses. Yeah. So we're in not a great period of human history for that reason. Who would be calling me? I find that very offensive. It's going to have to wait. Anyway, pause button. All right. On the stupid analogy, let's see, what did I write here? For raising on his stupid analogy. Yeah, so again, he's arguing that he can use a very poor analogy, not even close to the truth analogy. It wasn't that it wasn't just perfect. So he's defending using a Rube Goldberg device that doesn't evolve, doesn't progressively change in an ordered way. And so in my opinion, it just misses the fundamental point. We change in an ordered way. There's a direction to our change. It's idiotic to pretend that we're as dumb as we were 10,000 years ago, because we're not. Knowledge grows. We build airplanes. We do things that are progressive. They have a linear direction. You can't call that unlinear. You can't call it something. It's not random. It's not chaotic. It's not arbitrary. It has a clear direction in terms of the acquisition of a truth and learning to accept that truth. And again, like I said, religion's a problem. It would have been dead if we didn't let ignorant, dumb people breed excessively. Religion would be dead on planet Earth if it wasn't for dumb people breeding. That's just a fact. All right. Childish use of words, he claims, because I make a distinction between a stupid word like morality, one layered in religious dogma and edicts from a god, and instead prefer that people use a word like value, and recognize that value isn't arbitrary or dogmatic, that we can observe it in the world, we can identify the things of value. And clearly the biggest argument between us is the fact that I, as a conscious organism, have realized that one of the most obvious and substantial and intrinsic, and perhaps the only intrinsic thing of value, is the welfare of a feeling thing. The capacity to torture something. If you take the capacity to torture out of an equation, it becomes an easy equation. It's like taking losses out of Las Vegas. If you couldn't lose any money by going to Las Vegas and all you could do was get filthy rich, Las Vegas would be like perfect. It'd be like, how could you complain? It would be all, there wouldn't even be a need for a value equation. There'd be no trade-off. Clearly that's not the world we live in. The costs are real. The price is real that we're paying for whatever this robotic silly game is we're playing. That's sort of the underlying theme of his stupidity, is he can't really understand how there's a difference between saying something's not a robot, which I'm not saying. We are robots. It's just that we're robots that can be smart. So he doesn't understand that you can have a robot that's just idiotic, like you program it chaotically and it just bangs into walls and does nothing, or you can have a robot that washes your dishes. It does something constructive and something positively programmed. And I'm making the argument that logic and knowledge acquisition works that way. It does make you make coherent airplanes, not incoherent airplanes. And everything else you do will also try to fit that pattern of working and not failing to identify the truth. Alright, so he keeps talking about this magic question that cannot be found. The question that he says is an important question, and I can't find it. And I sort of pointed out that the only question that needs to be answered is there bad? Is there an intrinsic bad thing? That's one thing to figure out first. First, do no harm. So first find out what the harm part is and say, well, let's try to get rid of the harm part. And then you can maximize the good part. It's any efficiency equation, any mechanical, you view an engine or anything you're trying to fix or you're trying to improve. Well, first you find out where the waste is. You find out where the bad stuff is, and you correct it. And then you try to maximize or optimize the good stuff. Perfectly logical. I'm not committing any crime here by saying I can't find your idiotic question. I see the question as being one of simply finding the value. And I'm saying when I look at the whole entire universe, the only thing in value in it, okay, is the welfare of a feeling creature. I've said it 7 million times. If you think something else is of value, I can't see it. Agency of a retard is valuable. No, it isn't. I don't see anything else of value, but the end result of torture, not torture. Alright, require what? Okay, recognize what has value. Okay, acceptable trade-off. So then he has a whole problem with this. I'm saying the even higher argument gets into the thing that once you've identified what's valuable, then there's also this trick question of imposition, and that you can't logically defend imposing the price for your life on somebody else. If you're not paying, then you shouldn't be playing, kind of thing. You don't invest somebody else's money in Las Vegas thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to do them a favor, unless you're really, really sure you're going to win. And if you can't guarantee the win, you really don't have any business doing it. Nobody would say it was a good idea, and no one would suggest, oh yeah, break into my house, steal whatever loose cash I have, and go lose it in Las Vegas for me. Nobody would want people to do that. So it is an important question of consent, and it's an important question of imposition in terms of an ethical question regarding value. Alright, so at 5-something, this is where everything goes sideways, in my opinion, where he just doesn't get anything right. There is no choosing in determinism. I said clearly in my video that choosing is making a decision, and you can have informed decisions or ill-informed decisions. There's a huge difference between somebody who understands that drunk driving is taking a risk with somebody else's. It's basically loading a gun and waving it in a crowded street. It's taking a risk with other people's welfare. It's totally obnoxious and rude. Can be understood to be so, and the choice will change based on a person understanding that and a person not understanding that. A person so blinded by their self-engine, the self-engine's always running, and they just can't even imagine the rest of the world having an impact in some way, or them having to take any account for their impact on other people's lives. No sense of responsibility. They're just takers. Because they're very stupid. You're only a taker if you're stupid. It's just a fact. It's a huge vacuum in your knowledge base when you don't understand the responsibility not to make a mess, not to shit in other people's living rooms, all that kind of simple stuff. So choosing happens in the sense that we make determinations. We make determinations based on the evolution, how far our knowledge has evolved. Not complicated at all. Hardly what you're calling an embarrassing philosophy. Fuck you, you're a cunt. A stupid shit mouth of a cunt. Alright, so I'm saying informed versus ignorant decisions. It could be informed versus selfish decisions. Same difference. The only thing that disciplines us is knowledge. We all have. I would imagine that most people on Earth can understand where they've had an impulse or a desire, and they've realized they can't act on it because it's dangerous to something else's welfare. It's going to harm somebody, potentially, and they don't have a right to do that. I mean, every decision you make, I mean, even when you have a relationship with another human being, you're creating a huge obligation, because if you have any kind of knowledge base, you have any kind of informed psychology, it will occur to you that they would have a destiny without you. and that what you have to do is improve their destiny. That you don't want to get involved with people if you're going to make their life lesser than what it would have been if you never messed with them. And a sensitive, intelligent human being, that thought arises through their understanding that they have a responsibility to try to improve the person who they've influenced instead of putting them in a lesser condition. And that's the act of love. The act of love is improving someone's life, not ruining their life. All right. Concept of imposition risk. So I already went to that. The fact that he can't even get to the higher argument because he can't even understand the realness of what's at stake, which is torture. He doesn't understand torture is a bad thing, so he can't understand how it's wrong to impose it without consent or without judgment to justify what you're doing. Some kind of rational argument that somehow defends the risk you're taking, that somehow the reward is going to be worth the risk. You're going to cure malaria, you might kill 10 people. That could be justified. But the crap most people do can't be justified. All right. In the end, this argument all comes down to the fact that there's no fixing a bad game, and life is essentially a bad game. It's a game built on this idea of insane competition for the glory of standing on a mountain for a moment and then being one of the bloody bodies, the skeletons at the bottom of the ditch. We all get wiped out by the acid. It's just about how and when, and it can't be played. It's a stupid game. And all through it is all kinds of unconsensual impositions that just make it unethical besides rationally stupid. And that's the fundamental argument here. And that will be the truth in the end, in my opinion. The truth will be understood by people who acquire any kind of significant knowledge about what their psychology is doing to them and how they're just playing out a silly addiction. Silly notions of value, not rational understandings of value. Emotional definitions of value, not intellectual definitions of value. All right. So what is consent in a deterministic universe? That's the stupid question he asks. And again, the determinism has a direction. The determinism isn't static. It migrates in a direction. And so obviously I would say the concept of consent is real in terms of something that can be described and defined as a valuable thing when you're going to impose risk. That consent is very important, and that if you're imposing risk, doing something without something's consent for your own gratification, or the gratification of your own sense of how the way things should be, you have to defend that with logic that explains how the gratification of your sense that humans should exist, it's okay to create the torture victims that will be arbitrarily selected from the pool of humanity to carry the biggest burden of playing the fun little life game. The ones who are going to get trapped under the gas truck, the ones who are going to have their face burned off, that kind of shit. Alright, so fundamentally evolution is change. It doesn't have an end, theoretically. It's perpetual change. And it migrates things in directions. I can't say it's nothing like logic. I mean, they won't conform to some strict logic. For every 100 years, a different kind of gladiator will be in fashion. 1 year tall and heavy, you'll win. The next year, little tiny midgets figure out how to knock the Goliath over, so the midgets take over. And then some moderate-sized guy, bigger than a midget, wipes out all the midgets. There'll always be a tug of war, so to speak, in which way change and evolution goes. So there's no such thing as, maximized to some direction. Clearly we've stepped out of biological evolution with intelligence. It completely breaks. We invent the condom. We completely break the mechanism of evolution. We're no longer doing the survival of the fittest thing. Fitness is a completely different kind of definition, and ironically it's an inverted definition in the sense having intellectual fitness will not create a number of babies needed to take over the gene pool. Idiocracy, again, it's idiocracy, and you're a symptom of it, you stupid cunt. Alright, so intelligence, our knowledge base changes. So just like evolution, our knowledge evolves, and it evolves by a really different system of order. The pieces have to fit eventually. So yeah, for a few hundred years we might be fooled by silly dodges like bench space and Heisenberg magic and Huygens nonsense and all kinds of other little silly theories. But eventually the facts are going to add up, they're going to be acquired, and the truth will be found. And that's what knowledge does. It finds the truth over time. And that's what's been going on for 10,000 years of human existence. And we're finally at a point where intelligent human beings can recognize what's really happening to us and how we're being victimized by this Borg of addiction and desire, and that this is a pointless pageant, a redundantly stupid play of need, make a mess, clean up a mess, part of a mess, leave a mess behind. Make a mess, clean up part of a mess. Need, beget need, beget need, beget need. A stupid heroin addiction, a stupid bad judgment. And we're finally capable of getting past that bad judgment and recognizing that there is high stakes here. There's very valuable and precious things being ruined by this reckless play, and that the game has to be played better. People have to build the nest before they lay the eggs. Simple little logical statements are being well understood by many people who are educated and sensible and reasonable and rational, and idiots and selfish cunts and rationalizers for their own deficient ego problems and have to do defensive things to defend themselves. So they go to preposterous proportions to defend absolutely silly behaviors like frying sentient organisms in a pan for breakfast, for convenience, drinking and driving and such, imposing recklessly, sloppily, without good cause. So, fuck any idea of things that have volition or some idea of I'm a very good driver. Because somebody says I'm a very good driver doesn't mean they're a very good driver. That's demonstrated by something more than just saying it. And this whole bullshit about anything like agency having any meaning doesn't have any meaning without competence. Competence is the key word. Knowledge is the key word. Education is the key word. Being informed are key words. These are important things. Without those things, you are not an improved version, and you're not capable of making good judgments. And that's a simple truth. Stupid matters. It's dangerous. It's destructive. You're stupid, you're ignorant, and you're arrogant, and I'm sure you stink. In every way possible. You fucking dumb, shit-talking asshole. You're a fucking stupid asshole.